Hi students. Okay. So previously we have studied how to study mathematics and what are the steps you have to follow whenever you are preparing for a mathematics subject or mathematics exams. No problem. So after that we gone through the syllabus of your 10th standard and 11th standard and the topics which are going to be continued from the 10th standard to 11th standard. They are, first one is number system, continued to sets, relations and functions. Second one, trigonometric, that converts into trigonometric functions in the 11th standard. In the 10th standard you have studied trigonometry, in the 11th standard you are going to study as trigonometric functions. That all we have discussed. Clear? So in this class, after discussing those two units, now let us move for algebra. My dear students, algebra will be very important in upcoming exams or upcoming syllabus of your mathematics. Clear? Whenever you are going to attend exams of the type JEE Mains or JEE Advanced or any mathematical any exams which is including mathematics subject, in that algebra is going to have a 40% of syllabus. Please remember that. Algebra will be having 40% of syllabus of any exam which you are going to write on the basis of mathematics subject. Clear? So that's why some students, because of some difficulty in solving the equations or solving any polynomials, what they will do, they will try to skip that algebra part. But my dear students, please remember, algebra part is going to be very important for your upcoming days in mathematics. Clear? Okay. So in algebra, what you have studied in 10th standard, you have studied pair of linear equations. Clear? Next you studied arithmetic progression. You also studied quadratic equations. Clear? In algebra, you have studied pair of linear equations, quadratic equations and arithmetic progression with polynomials. These four concepts you have studied in 10th standard. Clear? So these parts are going to be continued in the 11th standard also. Clear? There you have studied the quadratic equation. Again you are going to study the same quadratic equation with more examples in the 11th standard. Please remember, what you have studied about quadratic equation in the 10th standard, the same chapter you are going to study in the 11th standard again as a quadratic equations, but here examples will be more. That is one thing. Next, in the 10th standard you have studied polynomials. Please understand this. In the 10th standard you have studied polynomials. In the 11th standard you are going to study binomial theorem. That means that binomial theorem teaches you how to simplify the polynomials. Please understand that. For example, a plus b whole square, how to expand it so that you are going to get one polynomial. A plus b whole cube, how to expand it, that you are going to study through the binomial theorem in the 11th standard, which will introduce you the formulas for polynomials in the form a plus b whole cube, a plus b whole square and so on. Clear? That's how you are going to continue the polynomials from 10th standard to 11th standard. Next, arithmetic progression you have studied in the 10th standard. Clear? So that arithmetic progression again you are going to study in sequence and series. Clear? So sequence and series will be the chapter which is going to be taking the help of your arithmetic progression from the 10th standard. So if you are perfect with arithmetic progression in the 10th standard, so that you are going to be very happy with sequence and series and the problems of sequence and series. Clear? So these are the topics which you are going to taking the help of the 10th standard. I think you got an idea. But in the 11th standard, there are some different chapters which you have not studied in the 10th standard. They are permutation and combination. That means the same algebraic part or algebraic equations you are going to use in permutations and combinations. That means the applications of algebra is going to be used in permutations and combinations. Again same, you are going to study complex numbers. In the 10th standard already you are going to be studied about real numbers, but in the 11th standard the continued part of the real numbers you are going to study as complex numbers. Clear? So you will study the complex numbers which are the continuation of real numbers. Clear? After complex numbers you are going to study linear inequalities. What you are going to study? You are going to study linear inequalities in the algebra part. Clear? So now please concentrate, that is in the 11th standard in algebra part you are going to study first one a binomial theorem, next permutation and combination, next complex numbers, linear inequalities, sequence and series. Clear? So these things are going to be very useful for your competitive exams. As I said, 40% part of any exam is going to be the algebra. So in that, these all topics you are going to be covered. Anyways, please remember polynomials will be continued as binomial theorem. Again quadratic equations, again same, they are continued as quadratic equations. Arithmetic progression is going to be in sequence and series. Next, pair of linear equations. Pair of linear equations which you have studied in the 10th standard, again you are going to study in the chapter of straight lines, where the equations are written in the form of straight lines, so that you are going to have the continuation of 10th to 11th standard in your algebra part. Already we have know about trigonometry, how that trigonometry is going to be continued in the 11th standard, that we have already discussed. So again I will not going to be in that. Also we have discussed about number system, that number system how it is going to be continued to the 11th standard. So almost we have covered half of the syllabus, that means 50% of the syllabus which is going to be continued from the 10th standard to 11th standard. Clear? Okay. In the next class I will tell about some more topics, or otherwise now only we shall discuss, that is statistics and probability. In the 10th standard you are going to study some part on statistics and probability. Again the same topics are going to be continued in the 11th standard with more examples and more number of definitions. There you are going to study at the surface level, but here it will be a very lengthy chapter which is not going to be only at the surface level. You are going to study more and more definitions and more problems, but the chapter name will be the same as statistics and probability. Clear? So that's why these all are the units which are going to be continued from the 10th standard to 11th standard. So in the next class we shall see which were the independent chapters in the 10th standard and which are the independent chapters in the 11th standard. Clear? That means that chapters are not going to be continued in your 11th standard, but those independent chapters, that knowledge is going to be used in upcoming chapters or upcoming subject of your mathematics. Clear? Because those things are not going to be continued as chapters, those things are not going to be continued as a chapter, but that things are going to be used while solving the problems, while solving the theorems, or while discussing the definitions. Clear? So that's why that particular topics I will go through in the next class. Clear?